Good morning. Rachel and I are here this morning to tell you about the Bethel College Anti-Racism Coalition. One of the groups, we're one of the groups you're going to hear about this morning that's working toward racial justice on the Bethel campus. And we're just two of the people involved, but our group includes representatives from faculty, staff, and administration, and we would welcome student participation as well. Maybe you already know some of the people in our group. If you are a member of BCR, if you could please stand and let people see you. Thank you.
So why does our group exist? So our story begins less than a year ago. Last January, 11 representatives from Bethel College faculty, staff, and administration participated in a second level, meaning a more advanced kind of anti-racism training put on by a group called Roots of Justice. This training was designed to help institutions begin looking at their own practices. We know that racism is not just an interpersonal problem, but that there are larger systemic ways that racism operates throughout our society.
So at the training in January, we learned that another group from Bethel had gone through this same training in the early 2000s, after which they worked with a consultant to gather data about current and former student experiences and to identify institutional practices that might be inherently unequal for our students and to outline some concrete steps toward change. We discovered that there was a 150-page report that documented their work and their data. Unfortunately, most of the people who were involved in that effort no longer work at Bethel, and we see this as an example of where institutional memory can be short.
And while this felt discouraging, it also felt like a place to begin again. We know from your student satisfaction inventory data that our students continue to express feelings of unequal treatment on campus and in classrooms. And so our group has committed to picking up this important work and taking action, because we want all of our students to feel welcome and to have positive experiences at Bethel inside and outside of the classroom.
So in our meetings together so far, we've identified a series of goals, and we're going to talk about those. Some of these are long-term, and some of these are short. Many of these are I'll say some of them are short-term, but many of them are long-term.
One of our goals is that all leadership, faculty, and staff will participate in anti-racism trainings and to implement a means of training all incoming students. Participating in a training is just a first step to understanding the issues at play, how we participate in these systems, whether or not we realize it, and whether or not we intend to. So far, 27% of faculty, 24% of staff members have participated in trainings, and 85% of our administrative cabinet members.
Another goal is that 30% of Bethel College faculty and staff will be people of color, with particular attention given to positions in which they will have the power and authority to make changes. We feel that this is important for our faculty, staff, and administration to work more closely to reflect the makeup of the student body. One concrete step that we're taking toward making this goal a reality is that when we advertise new positions, 50% of our funding would go to advertising in places where on job sites specifically geared toward applicants of color.
Another area of work is for faculty to embed values of anti-racism and anti-oppression into our curriculum. So what does that look like in different disciplines? Maybe that looks like changing the readings we assign. If we look at our reading lists, are all of the readings by white authors? And if so, what perspectives are we completely missing as we teach? What kind of knowledge are we privileging over others, intentionally or not? We've put together a folder shared with all faculty where we gather resources, reading lists, classroom activities, and guest speaker information that can help us as we try to do this work together.
This next goal is one that I'm personally involved in. It's to address our institution's history by listening. Melanie Zerker and I have begun reaching out and having conversations with people of color who are former Bethel employees. We're hopeful that they're willing to share about their experiences here, and we hope to hear about changes that they would recommend as we seek to learn from them.
Another of our goals is for Bethel to develop a code of conduct, not just for students, but also for faculty, staff, and leadership. What do we expect of ourselves? How do we expect that we should treat each other? Spelling out standards and practices that reflect anti-oppression values is just one more step toward making racial and social justice a reality on our campus.
And finally, one of our short-term goals is to partner with the Bystander Intervention Training to begin important messages to all incoming students. When new students arrived in August at Thresher Days, they all met for a time in small groups to address and discuss ideas related to equity, diversity, and inclusion. We don't want to be just responsive to situations. We want to change our messaging up front so that more of us can feel that we're a welcoming, inclusive community that values and takes care of each other.
So we have some long-term goals. It may feel like a long road to get there, but we have a large group of people who are committed to the betterment of us all by implementing some changes. We're certainly not the only group doing this kind of work, though. We're excited for you to hear from several other groups today, some from our campus and some from the Newton community, to find out how other groups are building bridges and working towards social and racial justice. So next, I'm going to be welcoming to the podium Ellie Bradley and Linda Moyo from the Student Diversity Council to tell you about some of their work.
Hi, I'm Ellie Bradley. And I'm Linda Moyo, and we're representing the Diversity Council. So as the year is getting started, the Bethel College Diversity Council has been working on our mission statement for this year. We plan to have our mission statement all ready to go and present to the Bethel student body and the community at Fall Fest. So far, we can present to you some of the ideas and mindsets that this council is functioning with.
So to start off, this year's Diversity Council believes in encouraging diversity not only on the Bethel campus, but in the Bethel community. We also acknowledge that diversity is not just in the skin tone or gender identity or sexuality, but also in walks of life, culture, and so much more.
We hope that we can provide a space for students to embrace their varying backgrounds and cultures through our activities, as well as their everyday life on this campus.
Overall, we hope to cultivate discussions at Bethel about racial, economical, and many other types of social injustices, all the while noting that they are still prevalent even on Bethel's campus.
Diversity Council has been part of Bethel community for less than 10 years, and it's run by students as part of the Student Government Association. This year, we are made up of me and Ellie as the co-secretaries, and I'm gonna call out the rest of our council, and as I call out your name, can you please stand? We have Ron Gray, Jexie Girk, Jenna Ratzlaff, I think she's gone today, and Dante Powell. Might be gone too.
Also on our council, we have a position for freshman liaison, and this position is still open. If you are interested in the position, please feel free to contact me, Linda, or anyone else on the council. We have weekly meetings Wednesday evenings at 8:30 p.m. in the First Bank Conference Room. It's that big wall of windows right outside the CAF. And our meetings every week are open to everyone. And every month, we will have at least one roundtable talk.
Roundtable talks are events where we plan some sort of a leading topic or question. So far this year, we've had one for the Hispanic Heritage Month and adjusting to college life. At these events, you will have opportunities not just to make connections with other students, but also to voice your own opinions. For certain topics, Diversity Council will make reports to the proper outlets to let them hear students' voices and help to enact change on this campus.
Our other events may vary month to month and can span from celebrations to basically any other type of activity or event. We hope you can see Diversity Council as an important part of the Bethel community, just as we do. Students should always feel free to come to us with ideas for events, as every student activity council or anything hopes that you'll come with ideas. But most of all, we hope that if you are facing racism or any other type of injustice on campus, that you will come and talk to us, as we are a group of students that are fighting against this on our campus. We're very excited for this year and for Diversity Council to have many more years at Bethel College. To continue with our convo, we're going to have Jalal come up and talk about the Anti-Oppression Committee.
Good morning. My goal for speaking today is simply to give students insight on what it is like being a student on committees such as the Anti-Oppression Task Committee. When I initially became a member of the committee, I thought our purpose was to provide the people of Bethel College an appropriate place to express matters of oppression. Through my experience as a member of the committee, I realized I was wrong in thinking this, because this thought makes the inference that there are places that are inappropriate for bringing attention to such matters. These places do not exist. There is no place or time that is inappropriate for addressing matters of oppression. Instead, I learned that our purpose was to allow the people of Bethel College to take action against oppression. In addition to this, I also learned that opinions of students matter, the presence of students matters, and most importantly, students matter. Thank you. I think you're supposed to introduce this group. Yeah.
Okay. Greetings, everyone. I thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today. My name is Samuel Haynes, and I'm here with Jalal, as you heard him speak just a moment ago. And as you heard him say, we're here to talk about the Bethel College Anti-Oppression Committee. I'm the chair of the Anti-Oppression Committee, and Jalal is one of the student members on the committee. Jalal has been one of the original student members on the Anti-Oppression Committee. So why does the Anti-Oppression Committee exist? The Bethel College Anti-Oppression Committee was created in response to the hashtag Bethel Lives Matter protest in April 2016. The goal of the committee is to promote a community free from bias, prejudice, oppression, and discrimination that allows all Bethel College students, staff, faculty, and guests to connect to purpose. The purpose of the committee is to receive complaints related to discrimination or bias against individuals related to religion, creed, age, race, color, national origin, citizenship status, veteran or military status, physical or mental disability, or medical or genetic information. How it works? Members of the Bethel College community are encouraged to submit reports of identity-based bias, oppression, discrimination, even if support information is not available. A lack of evidence should not be a deterrent from voicing a concern by filing a report. All allegations of identity-based oppression, discrimination are taken very seriously, and Bethel will work with individuals involved and to be supportive and be responsible and respond in a responsible manner. Anyone who experiences and/or is aware of an identity-based bias, oppression, discrimination should report it as soon as possible. Where to report an incident? Right now, you can report the complaint to me as the representative of the Anti-Oppression Committee. You can also report them by email, anonymous letter, the online Student Life Concern form, and also by calling the Student Life office or the President's office here at the college. The committee composition is of the following. More than half of its members shall be made up of people of color with a gender balance. Membership includes the following: a member of the Administrative Cabinet appointed by the President, 2 faculty representatives appointed by the Dean and Vice President of Academic Affairs, 2 staff representatives appointed by the Staff Welfare Committee, 6 student representatives. The SGA Diversity Council that you heard speak a moment ago are expected to receive recommendations and nominations from faculty, staff, and students and make appointments to this committee, and 1 coach appointed by the athletic director. How long do they serve on this committee? They serve a 2-year term for a total of 4, a maximum of 4 years. The current members serving on the Anti-Oppression Committee, if you are here, would you please stand so that people will see who you are? Francisca Mendez Harkelode, Mark Jansen, Cheryl Wilson, Peter Gorzin, James Cottage, Julian Gonzalez Salamanca, Jalal Gondal, and Kyla Williams Miller. As you can see, thank you very much for your work on this committee. As you can see, we need more student members. To learn more about the Anti-Oppression Committee, including its rules, how it works, becoming a member, or report an incident, stop by and or read the founding documents in the Student Life Office located in the lower level of the administration building. Why am I a part of this committee? Because I was asked to be the chair when I was hired in spring of 2018, and I see it as a very important committee here at Bethel College. Why do I do this work? Because it is important and does not get enough attention. Also, because I have made a career of change and making sure that all voices are heard. So I thank you. Next, I invite Larry Lee and Sarah Dick to talk with us about their group, the Newton Community for Racial Justice.
Sarah and I are happy to be here to speak to you about the Newton Community for Racial Justice. We call it NCRJ.
To give you a bit of the background, we didn't start from scratch. We are building on the work of many decades of activism in the Newton community, over 80 years of work. There was once a local chapter of the NAACP here in Newton. There were interracial fellowship groups. Church leaders and business people took the lead on these matters, and those folks have made lots of changes in this community over the decades. And some number of years ago, maybe 15, Bethel formed a diversity task force made of staff and community members to address discrimination that students of color experienced off campus primarily. And that group was disbanded, but now you see it happening in lots of new and exciting forms.
For our group, in December of 2014, we set our mission and vision. Our mission, as you can see here, is to raise consciousness of how racism functions in the Newton community and how to take action to promote racial justice and resist racism.
And our vision is to build a foundation of racial justice in the Newton community so that the gifts of diverse members of our community are valued and celebrated.
That should be a picture, but that's okay. One of the building blocks of our work is to organize 2.5-day anti-racism analysis trainings. We've hosted 6 trainings over the past 7 years, and we've inspired others to host trainings of their own, as Bethel did this past May. We've invited different organizations that are in our community to attend the trainings, Newton School administration, staff, and Board of Education members, Newton High School students, Newton Police Department officers, local pastors and business people, Bethel College faculty, staff, and students. As a matter of fact, we'd like to invite anyone who's attended our anti-racism analysis training. Would you stand if you've attended any of those trainings? All right, thank you.
Another building block of our work is to help local residents tell their stories of discrimination and activism to make change. Here you see Winifred Garnett talking about the years when she was not allowed to eat at the Woolworth's lunch counter in the building that's now the Newton Etc. shop in downtown Newton. She told that story as part of a Martin Luther King Jr. Day history walk that we organized, and we organized 2 of those 2 years in a row. We also heard stories about legendary Newton High School coach Frank Lindley, who wouldn't allow black or brown high school students to play on his winning basketball team, and stories about the Mexican-American fast-pitch softball tournament that grew out of such segregation in sports.
More recently, we celebrated MLK Day through organizing a day of service, a day of community service. Here's Cheryl Wilson reading a children's book about peace at the public library during that celebration. We also had volunteers writing letters of encouragement to inmates and to middle schoolers, raking leaves at a park, collecting toiletries, tying comforters to send to people in need.
Another building block of our work is to meet monthly over lunch. Here we are at one of our meetings. We're an all-volunteer group at this time, so what people volunteer to do is what gets done. For example, when some of us started asking questions about the then inactive Law Enforcement Advisory Panel, we requested a meeting with the Chief of Police and got that group going again.
Another building block of our work is to host occasional evening open community forums so we can learn more about community concerns and ideas for improvement. We hosted our first one in 2016 and the second one was hosted in 2018. This photo here is from our forum last October. It was a nice turnout. It was enough to divide the entire group into 5 small groups to focus on 5 different areas of concern. And so when we did the breakout, these were the 5 areas of concern that we came up with.
If you want to learn more about Newton Community for Racial Justice and about working for racial justice, you can follow us on Facebook. You can attend our monthly meetings at the Newton Rec Center downtown on the 2nd Monday of each month at noon. You can attend our next anti-racism training. We've heard reference to that a few times already this morning. It's happening on Martin Luther King weekend next January. You can come and talk to one of us or maybe to somebody else who's been to one after this convo, if you're interested. You can also attend Martin Luther King Day events that are happening on campus that are planned here by your staff and also off campus that will be happening.
So we welcome any questions you might have for us after the convo ends. Please see either one of us and we'd be glad to talk with you. Just as a side note, the logo that we have here was created by a Bethel College graduate, Erin Bradley. So
You might know that name.
Yeah.
Big sister.
So right now, next we're going to invite Nathan Dominguez to talk about his work with the Newton High School group Students for Racial Justice.
So as they said, my name is Nathan Dominguez. I'm a student at Newton High School, and I'm also running for the Board of Education in USD 373. Right now, I'm fighting to give our students a voice in the governmental process. I'm fighting to prioritize mental health at a time where 20% of all of our students suffer from mental illnesses, and I'm fighting against the school-to-prison pipeline within our district. I'm also an organizer with the March for Our Lives, a member of Students for Racial Justice, which is the group that I'm here representing, and Newton Community for Racial Justice as well, all at the great age of 18. Old enough to be an adult, but just young enough to avoid student debt. I received the call to action at the age of 16. I mean, how could I not after seeing the injustices committed against people on the border? Children being separated from their parents and many times being lost in the system, never reconnecting with their parents or having any hope of seeing them again. People dying from preventable illnesses when they were in ICE custody. And it wasn't right then and it's not right now. But I realized that I needed to do something at that moment. Anything that could further our progress as a country and as a people. But like I said, I was 16 at that time. And how is a random 16-year-old in the middle of Kansas supposed to affect change across the country? Then the Parkland tragedy happened, and an amazing group of high schoolers over at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in Florida, who had just undergone a horrific occurrence, started a movement that resonated across the country, including right here in Kansas. I joined the movement as an organizer, helping assist and planning the March for Our Lives 30 minutes away over in Wichita. And the odds were against us. We were a group of students from across the area pushing gun safety legislation in a red state. We weren't supposed to be successful, but it was together with an amazing group of people that we organized 1,500 people to attend the March for Our Lives in Wichita and pressured the Kansas legislature to enact legislation that was approved and enacted that keeps firearms away from domestic abusers, legislation that has saved lives across our state. A group of students did that. I was anxious to bring that experience and activism back here to North Newton and Newton, and I was told about a couple of groups across the area dedicated to furthering equality in our town. Newton Community for Racial Justice and Students for Racial Justice. Now, Newton Community for Racial Justice met on Mondays at noon every month, and so I couldn't really go to their meetings as I'm still in high school. So I was lucky that the Students for Racial Justice was actually a club at my school. And so we're a group dedicated to advancing equality within the high school and hopefully throughout our district at large. See, we've got quite a few large problems within our district. You can't walk 10 feet down the hallways in our school without hearing at least one racial slur and having teachers simply not care. A dress code that unfairly targets women's clothing and that is enforced unfairly along racial lines. When you have a Black or Hispanic student in our school getting stopped and suspended for wearing a bandana because it's gang affiliated, but a white student wearing the same thing wouldn't get a second look. A Black or Hispanic student that isn't doing their work is labeled as a delinquent, but any other student is simply having a bad day. Black students make up only 3% of our student population, but comprise 30% of all expulsions and suspensions in our district, including our elementary schools. And yet these issues continue to go unaddressed. It's part of the reason why I'm running for the Board of Education, to give our students a voice in the process, someone they can go to with their concerns and know they can trust the person they're talking to give our minority students hope that they can succeed and that their academic success is not predetermined. It's the reason why we do the work that we do. It's how we stay motivated even in the face of extreme odds. We draw inspiration from the progress that was started right here on Kansas. Ever since our inception, we were fighting and blood was shed here so that we could maintain our status as a free state. Brown versus Board of Education was fought in our courts, and we succeeded in that fight. Progress in the United States has always come from Kansas, and it will continue to. But we cannot do this alone. It takes all of us to continue the fight and to push forward for progress. Progress never comes without a battle, but it takes all of us to do it. So next, I'm going to invite Barbara Lee and Mike Yoder to talk with us about their group, LEAP, or otherwise known as the Law Enforcement Advisory Panel.
Good morning. We're glad to be invited as part of these discussions on this morning. LEAP, the Law Enforcement Advisory Panel. Who are we? LEAP is composed of 9 people that is chosen by the city manager and the commissioners in Newton. And it was a city ordinance that was given for us to exist. Each member serves 3 years as a LEAP representative, and the panel reflects the diversity that's there in Newton, which is very small, but we do represent different people that are located there in Newton. Our mission is to advise the city manager, the police department on issues relating to law enforcement, including community relations, police operations, educational program, racial profiling, and other related matters. This year, LEAP has come together with a new mission, and we are working as being a voice for the community. With the police department, we work hand in hand. I'm going to have Mike to talk a little bit about our connections that we're doing. And remember that this is Newton, the city of Newton, that we're representing.
Hi, my name's Mike Yoder. I'm a lieutenant with the Newton Police Department, and bold choice to invite the police to an anti-racism thing. So I really appreciate that. But it's very important because the old ways of clamming up and not speaking with the community and assuming everything is just going to be okay is not a sustainable option anymore, okay? We are dedicated to being a department that is not one of oppression. We understand there is a job we have to do, but there is a way that we can do that equitably across all communities within Newton. Because of that, we participate with the Law Enforcement Advisory Panel. One of the things that we've been asked to do is to create a way in which people can make complaints if they believe they were in any way, shape, or form oppressed by the Newton Police Department, whether that be a racial issue, sexual orientation, gender identity, any type of thing like that. The group is there to hear and be a avenue where somebody can speak with the police department if they're not comfortable coming to the police department and speaking with one of us directly. We are in the process of creating a complaint form that will be available both through the City of Newton's website, and we will soon have printed versions put out in areas around Newton so people can feel free to air any issues they may have with us, and we'll attempt to work through those. It is a very difficult position to be in. We are not the most popular people in the world right now, but we are striving very hard to set ourselves apart from those horrible things that we see on the TV. A lot of people do not appreciate that no one hates a bad cop worse than good cops. It takes one incident like we've seen to break down years and years of community involvement that we've been trying to do. So we are open and we are attempting this, as among many other ways, for community involvement to be seen as a part of the community rather than just those evil jackbooted thugs in the corner that stopped me for speeding. If you have any questions or want to talk to me at all, I'll be around afterwards. Thank you. And finally, we'll...
I want to say one more thing.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
The last thing I wanted to say is that there are a lot of students who have came to us off of Bethel campus and had complained about different things that they encountered they have had with the police. The LEAP group is there to help you walk through that program. So if you feel that you might be a target, you can come to the LEAP group and we can walk you through the complaint process. As Mike was saying, is that you don't even have to go to the police department. We have a place in the city where that you can pay your water bill, you can drop your complaint there. So we're working on a way that you can feel comfortable and filing your complaint or your concern. You might just be concerned about an incident or a situation. We're there to hear that also.
And if anybody's interested in what the other side of all of these things that are going on in the community, oftentimes it is difficult to want to hear what the other side has to say. We too are afraid. We too are very cognizant of what's going on in the communities right now, and we want to allay the fears of the community as much as we possibly can while still being able to do our jobs. Okay. Finally, we'd like to invite Julian Gonzalez Salamanca to wrap up the series of presentations.
Hello. Thanks everybody first for being here. It is amazing how many resources we have in the community and at Bethel College to follow with these issues. I will start with giving you an overview of what's the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Many of you have heard it already. Many of you don't understand exactly how that works. The Office of Diversity and Inclusion, which I'm gonna following by saying ODI, was created in July 2018. The main goal is to lead the campus efforts to eliminate any forms of privilege. We create strategies to promote diversity and inclusion on campus, and we are located in the ground level of the administration building. So right before you enter or you go to the Student Life office, there is like a mailbox over there, and there is an office. There is my office. The ODI can be a bridge to communicate with groups that you had the opportunity to hear from already. Since each of these groups focuses on their work in different ways and different areas, they are all interconnected to do important work in terms of social justice and equity on our community. These organizations have been an important influence in creating efforts to provide resources for giving you a voice. The students need a voice, and this is where you need to speak up. So why and when do we need to connect with the ODI? We are here to protect you from microaggressions, for unconscious and conscious bias, for any type of discrimination based on your gender and identity, sexuality, race, type of disability, or any other type of discrimination that you can suffer, not only at Bethel, but outside of our campus. We exist to help to create a safe space for everyone. You might don't feel affected by any type of discrimination. You might be on the top of the iceberg, and you might not feel that you have been suffering any type of oppression. But here is where we start and we do an important call for the allies. We need allies on every single area of the work that we do. You might know some people that have been affected with any type of oppression, and it's natural that they feel scared to speak up. They feel scared to go to the director of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion or to Sam at the Student Life Office or to any other person on campus and say, hey, I have been feeling targeted on this way or another way. The allies are very important to empower those students of colors, students that are part of the LGBTQ+ spectrum, students with disabilities, and any other kind, to please come and raise your voices. We have those tools, all those tools that you have here in the past couple of minutes, they are here to serve you. And I want to make sure that you understand that the work that we are doing doesn't necessarily specify the four walls of Bethel College. We are here to go beyond. We want to partner not only with Newton or North Newton communities, we want to partner with Wichita, we want to partner with Heston, we want to partner with every single community that is going to be ready to do an important work on this. I serve as part of the Law Enforcement Advisory Panel. I am part of the Anti-Racism, Anti-Oppression Task Force. I am the director of the ODI. So I kind of act as a bridge to connect you with all those constituencies. If you have any questions, we'll be here to help you. But I want to make sure that you understand that you have a voice at Bethel College, that we will be listening to you, and that we are not going to be passive. We are an active group trying to make changes for positiveness. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for just a couple questions. And afterward, if you have questions for any of these groups, I think they'll all be happy to talk to you as well. Let's get a couple questions if we have any from the audience, or if Ronald has one.
Why is it that students always say they want to help out, but whenever topics like this come up, they never speak up or actually want to help? What can be said to further encourage their mindsets?
Was that directed to anybody in particular? Will you reread the question, please?
Why is it that students always say they want to help out, but whenever topics like this come up, they never speak up or act like they actually want to help? What can be said to further encourage their mindsets?
Great. Would one of the students maybe want to speak to that, Jalal or Ellie or Linda?
Yeah. I suppose, if you're saying like students, like your friends who are students, why aren't they speaking up? There might be one situation where they feel like they are not the person to be speaking about it. Like, say I go to my friend who is white and I'm like, this really racist person did a thing. They might be like, but you are the person of color, you should be able to speak on that. I don't know if that's what you're thinking. If you have friends and you would like them to speak up for you, I'd say communicate that to them more. Also, if your friends won't do it or if you feel like you can't do it, you can come to Diversity Council or the other groups here and they will speak for you or help you speak about it. Don't know if that answered it.
Thanks, Ellie.
So this was something I experienced my freshman year, where I noticed a lot of these things we would talk about at Convo, and none of the students were actually wanting to do anything about it. So that's kind of why I decided to be part of the Diversity Council, the Anti-Oppression Task Committee, and like try to figure out if students' opinions actually matter. Because originally I did not think they did, but your opinions are heard, and your opinions do matter in these cases. So please reach out to Sam or someone like that and try to become a part of these organizations. Thank you.
I think it's great to hear from all of you. That's an okay place to stop. As I mentioned before you all go, please. All of these folks would love to talk to you. If you want to come up and ask questions afterwards, please do. Thank you for being with us today. Have a great day.